surprising for me at least, acquiesced to the double C pawns, which is very typical of the Nimzo Indian, but not typical of the Queen C2 line. The whole idea of Queen C2 is oftentimes to avoid these double pawns, but he's doing it for very clear, concrete reasons. The dynamic play that white receives from the open diagonal, as well as rook b1 pressuring the b7 pawn, and bishop f4 in most cases, gives white clear development and putting his pieces on effective squares. So after queen c7, we saw the move queen e2. The queen no longer was doing any real services for white on the c2 square. Queen e2 simply defending the knight, preparing bishop f4, but not wishing to face knight h5. Bishop f4, rook d1, rook d1. We can see what Hikaru is going to do from Fabiano's point of view. Still has to resolve how he's going to develop his queenside pieces. Jennifer, what other games have caught your eye?
We can avoid that. One of them is obviously just capture on c5. Another one, okay, we're going to leave the pawn on c6. The problem is that you don't have any squares on which you can support it on the c file, at least not yet. You will have to play the move c4, c5 and try to open up this this file. So what I can do is probably I can go rook fc8 or simply just challenge a rook on the d file. Now c7 doesn't work. Of course, this would be a very beautiful shot if this king after rook d1 wouldn't be in check. For example, if this rook would be on e1, then c7 would win on the spot. Of course, after rook fd8, this c7 doesn't work. You have to go something like rook to e1, we draw back, and then I have, of course, I'm going to defend against your c7, and then I have a lot of time to just bring my king, king f8, king to e7, and this pawn on c6 might actually become a liability in the future. So you have to be careful a little bit with white as well. Nevertheless, I think after this move c5, even b takes c5 works as well. Of course, you're going to have a smidgen of an edge because of this c pawn, but how big is that? Probably not so big. And I think maybe just bishop e7 is a move. Bishop to a6 is a move. Once again, Fabi has to be a bit precise. He cannot play simply just any move in the position. Of course, he doesn't want to give too many tempos to his opponent. And now, if this pawn would actually go all the way to c6, that would be huge problems for black. Of course, there's a long path before that, and I think Fabi definitely knows what he's doing, and he will equalize. He will just finish this game quite quickly against Hikaru. I don't see Hikaru bringing anything new to the table, and tomorrow he's going to face Mickey Adams with white.
So how this is effective if he draws with the black today, playing Mickey with white tomorrow? It looks like that plays into his plans.
Perfect, because the standings really would favor Fabiano a great deal if he just makes an easy draw today. White tomorrow.
That's right. And then you remember that the pressure is on Magnus Carlsen and Maxime Vachier-Lagrave to try to emerge victorious to keep pace. So Fabi, I think a draw today will work into his plans. But we'd like to remind everybody that in addition to the English broadcast, we have Russian and also Spanish broadcast. And the Spanish broadcast you can find right on the YouTube St. Louis Chess Club channel, which has 135,000 subscribers now. So if you're watching us and you're not subscribed yet, then join the hive mind. And a big shout out to Alejandro and Iber.
Unfortunately, it's going to peter out to a relatively tame draw. This pawn on d7 is going to be captured very, very shortly by Fabiano. Equal position across the board. I'm expecting bishop takes d7.
Despite having hours left on the clock. You know, I noticed that the American players, when they face each other lately, it does seem that there's a lot of draws. I think maybe sharing so much information at the Olympiad. I'm not sure what the reason is for that.
I just think their preparation, and they're looking in these directions of the very sharp variations, especially in the Sicilian Najdorf and in others, a lot of sizzle and then a kind of a lot of fizzle at the very end.
Do you think it's so? You don't think it's because of like maybe preparing? Maybe some of their lines they've already like discussed with each other in Olympiads.
That's also
So they
another
have to go
possibility.
to drier lines sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, even when I was playing in the Olympiads, we would share ideas, but not to the extent that, you know, we knew each other's analysis inside and out. But it just happens that this particular ending, and Tata actually shared with me quite a funny story. She has played Fabiano's position, and in the database, she has one of the better wins. But she took a different approach than Fabiano did. So shout out to Tata. Over to you, Christian. This position, does Hikaru have anything? Has the more active pieces?
He does have the more active pieces. He does have the rook on the 7th rank. He is a pawn up at the moment, and you cannot recapture it either way with the rook or with the bishop. If you take it with the bishop, you're perfectly fine. The problem is if you take it with the rook, you're going to face this checkmate on the back rank. So there's two ways of playing in this position for Fabiano. One of them, of course, is bishop takes c7. But I have a feeling he doesn't want to leave this very nice square on b5, controlling the king and controlling the expansion of king 8, king e1, king e2, king e3. So a potential move for black in this position is actually to just prepare the move rook takes d7 with this move king to f8. I think this is the most precise way of continuing. If you attack the pawn on b7, the problem is I'm going to take with the rook on d7, and now you don't have time to take my pawn on b6 because now you have problems on the back rank, on the first rank actually in this case, with rook d1, bishop f1, bishop takes f1, or rook takes f1, and this position is just losing for white. So king f8 I'm expecting on the board, and I think this is just going to be an easy walk in the park for Fabiano to equalize and take the half point, the desired half point hold tomorrow.